How you doing, everybody? My name is Dean Olson. I'm a songwriter, radio host, and producer from Orange County, California. And I'm really just an average guy making music, but when I get behind this microphone, I become the strong writer on the radio, helping songwriters and artists keep musically fit. And the way I love to do that is through faith and hope and encouragement, by taking in the stories and experiences told to me by my wonderful guests, and by learning from the best in the business and passing it along to you. And now, I am very excited to feature another amazing artist who happens to be one time zone away from me in Colorado. And we'll get to know her here. The woman that you're getting to see on the screen with me is not only breathtakingly beautiful, but she also has a soulful singing voice that I've been listening to on her albums that is going to knock you out. Cass Clayton and her band have been getting noticed for their enormous talent, and we'll explore that a little bit. And their most recent album, called Play Nice, which was recorded some time ago, but it is still going strong, and it shows off their talent pretty darn well. And that's a short intro so that we got more time to talk. And I want to welcome everybody. Please put your hands together, or at least I will. Cass Clayton, everybody.
Thank you.
Very nice to meet you, Cass. I like your music, and that's good enough for me. I mean, I think everybody's going to really enjoy listening to this album, which I think you recorded it last year, right? So it's not a new thing, but I understand that you put in some bonus stuff during this time when I guess a lot of people have some extra time on their hands to do some stuff. And I like all the goodies that you threw back in. You know, there's some like acoustic tracks of some of these songs that you did, and etc. So congratulations on this. It's a great piece of work.
Thank you. I mean, it's a labor of love. You know how songwriting is. It's like
Sure it is. Yeah.
You have to do it in your soul. And you know, during this time, we felt like we needed to do something additional. We're also working on another album right now, a full-length album for the next project. But in the meantime, we also wanted to release some of those bonus tracks that the stuff that we thought was cool that we couldn't put on the first record. So. Oh,
good. Well, let's see. People are also, not only is this a audio, which has always been, but it's also a video podcast, especially now that more people have discovered what Zoom is. I mean, I'm not new to it, but it's nice to get to see you as well as listen to you. And you are in some room where you have a big painting behind you there, so it's nice to.
I painted that long ago. I do a lot of painting, or I used to do a lot of painting. Now I don't have time, but I used to. My house is full of art when I was back painting. Before I did music, because I was looking for that creative outlet and I was just burning up inside. But it turned out I was like kind of a crappy painter, but I still enjoyed it.
Well, I'm not an art critic. I mean, it's all subjective anyway, isn't it? But I didn't want to say that. Is that thing upside down, or is it the right side?
I know. It's like, and it's
what is this called? Do you have a name for it? Yeah.
No, I never name anything. No, I mean, it has so many layers in there, and it's scratched off, and it's got a lot. I just
thought maybe I almost turned myself, because it looked like blue sky on the bottom, and I said, "Oh, is this upside down?"
Blue sky on the top as well, like it goes.
Oh, see, this is what I didn't get to see, but yeah. Just those dumb little things. I like show and tell. Sorry about that. It's fun.
The best thing about Zoom is the voyeuristic thing. You get to see people's houses and offices, and I love that part of it.
And things you don't want to look at too, but it's fun.
Totally.
It is weird. And notice how that all the entertainment that you probably consumed over time, you know, TV shows and everything, especially talk shows, you know, everything's gone to like in their homes or their offices, and it becomes a different experience. In some ways, I mean, that's the way I've always done this, so I'm used to it.
That is a good branding thing. I know exactly where you are. That's a cool background for you.
Yeah, I like that. In fact, I had a guest just recently. He says, "I've been to all those places on your on your background there." So
I guess I have too.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. I don't know. I just saw this one time and decided to get it, and I can't let go of it. I could do that green screen that everybody loves to do with their Zoom backgrounds, but I like the simple stuff, you know.
Me too. Yeah. Something says about you.
Yeah. Plus, this covers up all my mess back here. You don't have to look at it.
Who knows what's back there?
Yeah, I'm always anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about you. And sure is nice to listen to some great you have a nice unique voice. I'm glad. I was really pleasantly surprised when I heard it, because have you ever like listened to the voice of somebody that you were really enjoying their voice, and then you go, oh, I didn't know they looked like that, or vice versa? Yeah. So when I saw you, I said, oh, I didn't know that this voice was going to come out of what I saw here on the album cover, this picture of you on the album cover.
Thank you. That's a good compliment.
Yeah.
I think when somebody's voice doesn't match, sometimes it's just like, whoa, because also my singing voice isn't really like my speaking voice.
Right. It does sound a little different when I hear you talk than the. Yeah, this is. How did you? Is this just a natural way? Did you have to sort of develop into singing like you do, or have you always had that type? The enunciation and everything.
I had never sung professionally or done anything with music until 6 years ago, and then it really out of the blue, this bizarre thing happened where a friend had lost their lead singer in a band, and he said, "Well, do you sing?" I mean, it was really random. I said, not in front of people. And he said, well, but can you sing? I'm like, yes, but I'm not going to sing in front of people. I really didn't want to do it. And he kind of convinced me to audition for this band. And I really, inside, very deep inside, I wanted to, but I always had bad stage fright. And once I auditioned, I pretty much knew, we all knew in that room, that it was going to be fun. We did it. And we just did covers that first year and a half, 2 years. And then all of a sudden I got this writing bug and I couldn't stop. And I just wrote tons and tons of songs, a lot of things that never obviously made it to the recording studio. But it was definitely begging to come out. It was really? Just expression that had to come out.
I like how you said the writing bug. That's always a good way to describe it. What do you recall the first getting bit the first time? Because how'd that transpire? I mean, I'm almost imagining, well, you do all these covers. I can do something too. I can write something just as good as one of these things.
I mean, I was singing a lot of blues and old soul music by artists I really admire. But there was not my personal, you can always find a piece of you that really is that song. Sure. So I can sing the song and feel authentic about it, but on a deeper level, I just felt that it wasn't my story that I was singing. It wasn't exactly what I had to say in that moment. And, a lot of the songs that I was singing and the artists I love were, Black artists. And and I still that's most of the music I listen to is, Black music, but I feel like it's almost an imperative at some point, if you're going to be a musician, that you find your own voice. And it just takes time. I wrote a ton of crap that was just horrible. Yeah. And I still do. I write notes in the middle of the night and then I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, I can't believe I thought that was interesting. That's just blah, but once in a while there's a gem and then it sucks you in and you write that song and that's true.
No, that's good, because I understand that, we all do it. We all write a lot of bad stuff. And I think that's a good exercise. Don't be afraid to just keep cranking out that stuff until sooner or later you're putting out more good than bad, Yeah. Because the bad stuff will still come out and you'll recognize it when you say, that wasn't as good as the other ones. So
absolutely. Yeah. And those don't make it to the studio, but sometimes you need to write it anyway. So
yeah, why not? It's otherwise what else is it going to do? Just sort of roll around up in here and in here, you got to get it out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what your band, I assume that you built the band around you, because since it's the Cass Clayton Band, was there a band existing and then you came along? How did this work out?
It was kind of this process that happened it was completely serendipitous. It was, I don't want to say accidental, because it did have thought and form around it over time. But the way it originally started is that I was just invited into this band called Hogback Blues Band. It was a some guys who were great musicians in the area, and they invited me to be in the band. And so that's how it started. When then we met somebody named Taylor Scott, an artist in Colorado who had been touring nationally with his own band, Taylor Scott Band. And he started, when he was in town, he would just show up at our shows, and we'd always invite him to play with us because he's phenomenal and just a great guitar player, great singer. And we became friends, and eventually he asked me if I wanted to write something together. And that's how it started, because I had already been kind of writing behind the scenes. I just didn't know how that was going to evolve. But also, I wasn't sure I was ready to write with him because he was really doing well, and it was intimidating, the idea of writing with somebody else, because it's your private thoughts and feelings that somebody can judge. There's some vulnerability there, and I didn't know him well enough. But a couple months later, he brought it up again, and I was like, okay, let's do this. And so we wrote 2 songs together. I wrote the lyrics, and then he's a great composer and arranger, and we just started working out, back and forth. He'd play something. What about this? And what kind of feel is it? And so we took those first 2 songs in the studio, and I thought we were just going to do that. Just 2 songs, we're done. But when we produced them, he was the producer of those 2 songs, and it went so beautifully well.
Oh, great.
Now down the road, I realized that it's not always that easy. I just got it was lucky that those first 2 songs flowed so easily, and it was such an effortless process, because I've hit walls since then where a song is just like you're wrestling it to the ground, and it's not easy, or it's wrestling me to the ground. But because it went so well, he's like, it doesn't always go like that. Do you want to do a whole album and see what happens? And that's how it started. And we just started working.
Oh, wow. Great. You had an album before Play Nice, right? There was something else.
Before Play Nice, it was called Cass Clayton Band. And to answer your question, after we did that first album, that's when we had to create a band, because I was like, what am I going to do now? This band that we have, some of these people are going to dig this, but some of them want to do blues, and it's really not going to translate. And so Dan Burke, lead guitar player, came over. Lauren Phillips came over, and then Taylor Scott, when he was in town, continued to play live with us. But the rest of the band members were new, and it's evolved.
Oh, no, good. That's a good story. That's a good way of learning how it came together. So you did have to sort of create, and now that we got something here, let's make it official. Let's turn it into something, right?
Yeah, and if I would have known I would have had to create my own band, I never would have done the album, because I just didn't want to take on that much. I just wanted to have fun and get my voice out on paper. I didn't want to run a business, and that's what it's become.
But did Taylor sort of did he sort of give you the luxury of not having to do everything in the beginning? So did he help sort of build this along for you?
He certainly gave me a ton of advice. He never, I think because he was running his own band and they were touring a lot, he said, hey, I'll be your lead guitar player for a few months out of the gate so that you don't have to think about that.
Yeah.
But in terms of running a business, that part of it, I just kind of did everything myself. The first year we didn't have a manager. If I needed to send out 500 CDs, I sat with a bottle of wine and packed up 500 CDs and sent them out. And every single thing we did, from building a website it was literally me up until 2:00 in the morning every night for about a year and a half.
Wow.
And then we got management, and then everything started to get better.
Oh, good. So it wasn't all what do you call it? It wasn't like a storybook, like a fairy tale. There were some bumps along the way, right? Trying to get it going. It's like trying to fly a plane. You can't get it off the ground right away. Yeah.
As you know, if you haven't done, released an album before, you have this little window to make sure your baby gets out and gets heard. And then once that window is over, 6 months, nobody really cares anymore. And it's important. So I knew what I was into, and I'd read everything I could read. I'm a voracious reader, so I was reading everything I could and learning from people who'd already done it, asking Taylor Scott a ton of questions.
Yeah.
Trying not to be what we joke, it's called an ask hole, like somebody who asks a million questions.
Yeah, I gotcha. Sure.
But I tried to learn everything I could, and I'm glad I did everything myself because, being from the Midwest, it's like, I feel like if you're running your thing, you should know what the dirty work is, what the hard work is. Because it helps you to understand what you're asking of people and be fair.
That's what I try to accomplish with this show. My show is not a how-to show. It's more of like a why-to, or, like why you should be doing it, and, what will keep you going when it's not as rosy a picture as you thought it would be, that kind of thing. Because if you got that bug, you got to. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm talking over you. Go ahead.
No, I was talking over you. I'm so sorry. I was just saying, shows like what you're doing, it gives me inspiration because there are those really low moments. Yeah.
And you're sort of, when did you get into this game now? Was it just a couple years ago when you started this, or?
6 years ago, I started singing, and then 4 years ago, I started writing. So
okay.
I feel like it's been forever now. It just feels really natural now.
Yeah.
But it's changed a lot too. The writing process changes and evolves. And
that's the truth. Yeah. But I didn't realize it was that long that it does seem like a while after a while. But it sounds like you are teachable. You said you're a voracious reader, which is good. And there's a lot of information in books and on the internet, but like I was trying to say with this show, I love talking to people who have done it, and then I can learn from them. And I get so much more out of it. And then you learn the how-to after you learn, why you're really doing it,
Absolutely. You just jump in and you do the next thing. I love learning from songwriters as well. Like, I read a lot of books. I'm reading 2 books consecutively about Joni Mitchell right now.
Oh, no.
I know, but she's such a brilliant writer. And, I have this deep, deep respect for anybody who's doing this, because to write something that seems effortless and easy and conversational, and it's not easy. So I love reading books by other writers and listening to radio shows and listening to everything I can by writers who I respect. It's just, I can't get enough of that stuff.
Yeah. Like you said, it's not easy, but it is kind of worth it, because what else are you going to do if this is in your blood and you got it, you got that bug, as you say, you might as well go along with it. Otherwise, you might as well just quit it, because otherwise it'll haunt you if you stop doing it, and totally. And you can't create the way you like to. It's tough, I think. So.
I agree. I think people who need to create something. If I'm not writing, I'm cooking. I've had a lot of creative outlets over the years, but none of them was quite like songwriting, because music was like a family obsession. My dad was really into music, but we didn't ever think of ourselves as people who could actually be musicians, because it was just not the way I was raised. So to be doing what I actually wanted to do all along, but never really thought of that as a career or a job that people do.
Yeah.
So I feel lucky. Like, even on the worst day of doing anything musical, it's still better for me than any other job that I could possibly think of.
Right. Because now that you got this, and then it's almost like you're destined to do it. Now, isn't that annoying that you have to now you have to go with it? This is what you've been you've been presented this gift. Now what are you going to do with it?
Yeah,
it's tough. You can't give it away other than to write something beautiful and then somebody else enjoy it. That's probably a great thing too. You get some feedback. How does it feel to get feedback when you play a song for somebody and like an audience, and they give you some kind of feedback in whether it's applause or they come back and tell you that they loved what you sang, or anything you can think about?
Part of this for me is just the connection, because I've always felt like you can serve humanity in any possible way. Like I've said this before, but I really mean it. I could come and clean your bathroom in your house or clean your whole house.
Oh, would you please? I'd love that. No, I can do that myself.
I mean, it doesn't matter what we do. It really doesn't matter what we do, as long as we do it with love. But if you love what you're doing, then you're connecting with people and in the way that you most want to. So when people like the music, I am just bursting. Every single cell in my body is lit up. I mean, it's such a special thing to have somebody tell you that they like your music, because it's like them telling you, I like what came out of your soul.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's wonderful that you're getting that, because I'm a little bit different. I haven't done stuff in a while, but when they hear some of the old stuff I did and I get compliments on it, I still go like, oh, I like that. I like when they said that about me. So, and I really don't care to hear the criticism. I just want you to tell me it was good or it had a nice voice or whatever. So, yeah. I
mean, the only place I want criticism is like in the studio or with the band, or I went on. Yeah. It's so funny because weird things happen, you get these trolls. So like when you put out
true.
And once in a while you'll get like a troll who's just there, who you don't know. You never know who they are or what their motivation is, but they'll say something really, really mean that really doesn't have to do with the music.
Yeah, he's just there to stink up the place and not be anything fun, right? Yeah.
And that happened one time in the last couple months, and I was like, wow, I mean, what is it like to be that person who had to go out of their way to say they didn't like your lipstick color? Like
oh yeah, really?
That's something to do. But the interesting thing about it is, like, for a second, it still hurts. So I think, we are fundamentally social creatures who are afraid of disapproval. And the worst kind of disapproval is probably somebody saying they don't like your art. But it's going to happen.
That's true.
Not everybody's going to love what we do.
Yeah. Oh, you mentioned something about your lipstick. I complimented you on your looks earlier, but the reason I would say something like that is because I always am curious about, for females, is it different? Because, obviously you got to, when you do a show or whatever, you got to make sure that you're, you're all gussied up and ready to go. And, and mostly, for the most part, guys don't do that, so I just wonder is it just like going out anywhere else, like going out
Not at all. Like, I mean, although sometimes my husband will be like, that thing that you wore at the show, will you wear that when we go out?
Yeah.
It's kind of slutty, but sure.
Well, I don't know your husband, but I bet he likes that. But, yeah.
But no, it's, I mean, when
I hope that came out right. I'm sorry about that. I meant when you dress up, kind of sexy for a show. I didn't mean the slutty part.
You have to dress sexy for shows. And, I mean, there's a line there for me because I want people to tune in and to show up because they like the music. And we have a lot of female listeners and people out who are women. So yeah, you want to look nice and you want to look sexy, but I also am not really I don't want the show to be about just the way I present myself physically. Mm-hmm. So there's always this weird line to walk. I think like if I was doing it at 20, if I would have started at 20, that line might have never even been there for me. It might have been a totally different thing. But after listening to countless musicians and noticing women on stage and the ones I admire the most, yeah, they're making an effort to look good and maybe more than some of the guys do.
Yeah.
But they're all about the music. And I think, I'm always walking that line. I don't know. It's probably something that guys don't think about a lot, but yeah, I want to be respected by women and also be sexy. And I don't know how to kind of do both sometimes. It's tricky.
And I'll read or hear other performers. I don't know if they're complaining about it, but they're just like, oh, why do we have this burden on ourselves to do this? We have to walk this line. We have to do this. I go,
Oh, it's not.
I'm sorry, guys do in their own way. They got to do the same kind of thing, but this is what you are. So you have to look special for what what art you're going to present. So you don't have to.
It's fun to play dress up. I mean, we're lucky. We get to do that, and I'm sure the guys would like to do that sometimes, but they can't peacock as much as we do. And
you're not. If you were wearing if you were just wearing a potato sack, I'm sure the music would sound just as good. But you also want to be confident and have a good time while you're performing for everybody. And
totally,
that's good. So what you had stage fright? I don't know. Do you still get it? Do you have to sort of work through that, or have you overcome it? Have you overcome that?
I definitely get stage fright, but I also one of the things that really helped me. Dan Burke, who is our lead guitar player, along with Taylor Scott. But Dan Burke told me one time, he said, people aren't really listening critically, and they have a short attention span. So think about when you watch a show, you're really tuned in for 30 seconds, and then your mind wanders a little bit. And,
that's for sure. Yeah.
People aren't just looking to criticize. And then I started noticing the way I watch other people's shows, and I want to like them. I want to have a good time. I'm not listening critically. Even as a musician, I'm not going, oh my gosh, I can't believe she missed that note. I go because I want to hear good music. And the thing about live music is it should have things that happen that weren't planned.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I try not to judge myself too harshly like I used to, or to think that people are just on the edge of their seats with every note. To be in the moment and be free. And I feel like I'm finding more of that as I go on. But yeah, I definitely get nervous. And the shows where I haven't been nervous at all, I feel like there's not enough energy in them. If you've played back when we were still doing bar gigs, some of the bars that we played, it started to kind of get staid after a while for us. It was the same crowd every time. And so we had to create our own energy. And I made sure that I felt excited. The nervousness is good for me because it's passion.
I can understand that. Now you know why I do a show like I do without we're not scripted here. We're just sort of talking and getting to know each other and like I told you before before we opened the show, I was saying that you may not know the questions that are coming, but you're certainly going to know the answers. And
yeah,
and you did. See, you're knowing everything.
Yay! I want my gold star.
But you had just like the appearance thing you were talking about. It's the same thing with all your performance. There's a lot of moving parts. You have to think, do I want to be nervous, or do I want to let it fly free here, or do I want to be perfect on this particular song, or I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, I think I would be just I don't know what would be going. I think at the time I'm not even knowing what's going in my head, but these. There's also that line from being calculated to being, hey, I'm just going to let it fly and see what happens,
Those are the best moments. And, I try to think when I am really nervous, if I get super nervous, because there are those shows that are just, the first time you've ever done that situation or you're opening for somebody who you really admire and respect. I try to think of it as just a lot of energy. I try to contextualize it for myself.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I do that might be helpful, because somebody taught me this, for other people who are performing, if I'm really in that fight or flight where the blood is sucked to the back of my brain, no access to my frontal cortex. What I was told to do, which helps immensely, is to open up your peripheral vision and breathe, because when you're in fight or flight, the first thing that leaves is your steady breathing. You start shallow breathing and you lose your peripheral vision because you're running forward. It's just you're preparing to flee or freeze. And so if you can get your body to behave in a natural way, your mind and your nervous system will follow. And that helped me a lot. I use that a lot.
Well, good. So you do have a little bit of a formula there. So at least something that you can go fall back on. How you only know how you operate. So
yeah,
that's good to know. What's just off the subject, what was fun to look on your you had a, I don't know if this was for the public to look at, but you had a cool a couple diagrams. I like your stage plot that you put on online here. So that's that. What's real nice is that I think that this is how you like to do most of your shows, right? You set up the drum kit in one way, and you're always in the same spot, and at least you have a some kind of regimen or whatever, like something that you know that's going to be the same.
It helps always know, like,
work around it, right?
This way, there's one guitar player. If I turn this way, there's, Taylor. I know that where everybody is, and we have this flow of communication on the stage.
Yeah.
Without being obvious, like, you get to where you can read each other's minds, and if I just move this much, that person knows I'm finishing that vamp or whatever, and then that's their solo. You get to where you don't have to talk or make it obvious to the audience what you're doing up there. So
at least you've set it up so that, you look to your right, Dan's over there, and then you look to your left, and who is it? Lauren's supposed to be over to your left, and then they're way down at the end is whoever's playing the keyboards, I guess. I don't know.
AC is our key.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. I like I don't do a lot of performing on stage, so it's just fun to watch that it's thought out the way you do it. And then so you give that stage plot to whomever is going to be the venue that you're going to play, whether it's big or small.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the really small ones probably wouldn't ask for it. And we're in this kind of weird context right now because of the world being kind of shut down. So we've played venues that we haven't played the venues that we normally would, but the bigger the venue, the sooner they want that stage plot, and they want to have everything ready.
Plus, you also have you put out your writer, which is fun. It's always fun to see what you're not demanding, so that's nice to know. You're just asking for the basics, right? You want a quiet place to sit and get ready, and yeah. I
don't have to remove all the green M&Ms out of.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a lot of fun. I didn't want to go I figure if I go too deep into that, then I'm infringing on your personal space and all that stuff.
I'm not interesting enough to have that many secrets.
Speaking of personal stuff, so you're a married woman. How long you been?
16 years.
16. Oh, you're getting the hang of this then, aren't you? So that's good.
It seems like it.
Any kids with your husband, or?
What's that?
Any kids with your husband?
One daughter, and she's 14.
Oh, how nice. So that's a good age. That's when they start talking back, I think.
Such a cool kid. And she's been it's amazing to see her like blossom and be wise. Like, she's wise.
Yeah.
It's good to have
so she in ninth grade, something like that right now? Or?
Yeah.
How's that been, COVID wise? Has it been tough, or has it been okay? It's weird, huh? You never thought this would go on. Yeah.
We never thought we'd be homeschooling. And
yeah,
I mean, luckily she likes homeschooling a lot because she's a solitary learner and she's an only child. So I think only children are used to being alone a little bit, but so it's not like, oh my gosh, I don't have anything to do. She knows how to, keep herself occupied. But it's not easy for anyone because nobody wants to be isolated, and least of all a ninth grader.
No, of course not. And plus, this is not. I mean, you're a family, and you'll adapt to whatever. But this is not. This wasn't supposed to be in the plans to do this kind of thing. No, she should be doing all her normal things at school that she was looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of times she's like, "Mom, do you want to?" There's this like weird scavenger hunt thing that kids do now, like where somebody texts you and you have to go find something in your neighborhood. She's like, "Mom, do you want to find this?" And I'm like, at my age, do I want to go on a scavenger hunt?
No, don't go.
I'm going to do that because you don't have a friend to do it right now.
Not only do I want to do it, are you sure you want to be doing it too? That sounds like a crazy. No, I didn't even know that was going on. They text and they do like a caching or whatever. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, you
just have to go to some random place and you have directions and you're supposed to find some random thing and then post it. And I thought that Pokemon thing where they were doing it on their phones was weird enough. I have no idea what that was about, Dean, because you and we grew up in a different era when
that's true. Yeah.
we were face to face.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's all relative. I know my parents' generation is probably the same thing. They go, well, this is weird, but it's always nice when new technology, comes into to being, and we know what came before that, and we can appreciate the differences. But
yes.
To somebody like your daughter, this is all she's known is,
Be careful that the technology doesn't use us. And
no, that's true.
Really fine.
Yeah. I'd be fine with I lived without it for years before, these smartphones came along, but it's like anything else. I got these things to be these smartphones here that I got it because it's fun, basically, yeah, of course. And it's convenient and everything like that.
Yes.
To give it up. Yeah. It would be a little tough to sort of let go put it away for a month because then you're cut off from people. But
it's become the way we connect. And so, in fact, I was just talking with somebody about this yesterday in the studio about, how addictive it really is. It's to the point that I just leave mine downstairs. If I'm upstairs, I do not take it to every room because it is, our brains are kind of entrained to get that ping all the time. So I try to.
Oh yeah. That the instant gratification of something coming through. Oh, I got to see what it is. Yes. in fact, when I just did this, my phone turned on and I said, "Oh, I see somebody commented on my photo. Big deal." Like I care.
It's so impossible to not want that as a human because we are wired for that. So it's who we are.
And I think that's why, social media has evolved the way it is because, you thrive on, somebody liked what I just said or showed them,
Yes.
That's crazy. Cool. Yeah. But there was a reason I asked you about your family there because, so your husband was there way before you got involved in all this stuff. And how has he been, how has he played a part in all this? Is he supportive of you?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
It kind of blows my mind how supportive and adaptive he has been to this because it is not, as you know, an easy thing to watch the person you're with go out and stay out until 2:00 in the morning, many nights in a row. Like when we were out playing, now everything's kind of quiet, but we were out late and he has always been, supportive. He's just like, have the guys walk you to the car, make sure, you're not drinking, obviously. So he's just always been my biggest support system. He always, before I ever started doing this, he was the one saying, you've got to do something with your voice because I was going around the house singing all the time because I love to sing. So there were no days where I didn't sing. I always sang all the time. I just thought everybody walks around their house singing, which they do. And that was going to be the end of that. And so once I started doing it, he has always been just like, go, you go. Also, he was a CEO who was all over the country and the world for many years while I was changing diapers and staying home and, being a mom and wife. And so I think he also, I don't know if he thinks of it this way, but I think he's like, okay, I did my thing and I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish and you go.
Oh, good. Well, good for him.
It's unbelievable. I know a lot of people, most of the women I know, ironically, who are musicians are in a band with their spouse or their, boyfriend, because women end up being, musicians end up being with other musicians if they start young. But so that makes it, I think I've got girlfriends who are just like, oh my God, he's a saint, which is true. He is.
Yeah. And they don't always have to be working in the same band or whatever like that. Sometimes they could be compatible behind the scenes. Like he might be managing the thing or doing something. And sometimes that even works even better because they're not directly involved in each other's tasks. There's that space.
But he was like, this business model is no.
Excuse me while I take some water here because I don't want to dry throat. Oh, that's wonderful that That's good that you have that happening, because it's really important to have somebody that's behind you on that, and it lightens that load. You don't want to be constantly going like, well, I want to follow my my path, my dream, and at least you certainly don't want somebody that's not into it.
No, it's true. I mean, when something is your passion and it becomes all consuming, I mean, the tricky part is there is no balance. I mean, balance is like a bygone dream. Equilibrium is kind of where we try to, you don't want to be like this. You're going to be like this. There are times when you're just going to have to dig in and work.
Yeah.
So the goal isn't necessarily literal balance. It's just kind of keeping everything in a flow that is acceptable so that nobody feels neglected and that everybody feels loved and cared for and gets their needs met.
Good. So everybody's happy. Everybody's keeping happy here. I'm looking for your track listing. Let's talk about your album real quick, because I'm going to feature some of your music in the show here.
Oh,
I think I warned you I was going to do that, and real nice. You had 12 songs on this thing, but because of either COVID or whatever, you decided to put some extras in there, and that's kind of good too, because it's not that you just took like one particular track and made an acoustic version, or these things sound great on their own, just separately from the thing. Yeah. And like, for instance, I'll just pick one out of random. Tattered and Torn. You had a couple versions going on there. You had the band playing the interlude, which was that was compelling. I listened to that all the way through going, that's sweet to listen to. I just wonder if that was like, does that precede the song maybe in set lists or whatever? I don't know how that works out, but that was great.
Well, that interlude, Tom Amend on organ, Tom Amend was in the studio on that song, and John Wirtz has done a lot with us on keys and organ and is in the studio with us a lot right now. But those two guys, I mean, they're just mind-blowing. And there's something about the organ for me that is it just does it for me. I absolutely love that instrument when it's played the way, like in a soulful way. It's church, and not the church I went to. It's like a better church than that with much better musicians. But that's, oh man, it gives me chills to hear somebody play like that. And when we did, this new deluxe version the album is coming out in a few days, and I wanted some of those pieces that we didn't get to share to be out there, because there were pieces that, like we had a piece where we ran out of tape, and it literally goes. So, but it was such a cool thing. The band was just going off, and it was.
This is like where they were playing "You'll See," and you got to hear the whatever came afterwards. Like in the studio.
Yeah, exactly.
So you really were running out of tape. You didn't just pretend that this was something that happened.
We ran out of tape on that, and
oh boy,
we were just like, wow, that was when everybody's out and just being themselves, and you already have the take you need, so you're just having fun.
Yeah.
That's when magical things happen sometimes.
I have plenty of outtakes. I never would know what I'm going to do with them, but they're just fun to listen to on your own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning. Cass Clayton Band, and your album is called Play Nice. And like I said, there were 12 tracks, but now you have a deluxe edition coming out, and I got to hear that. So I'm sort of sneaking in little references to things that I heard. But why don't we start from the first track? Because that's sort of you got noticed for this one song, Dawes County, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a single, I think.
Yeah, it was a single. It was the first single we put out there along with B-side. And I think really those two songs were responsible for us being, charting pretty quickly as the album was released. And
And when you say B-side, that's literally the name of the song, B-side.
B-side is the name of the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
But Dawes County, why don't you tell me a little bit about that, please? Because it was that's from the actual county in Nebraska where you
where I'm from, where I was born, and it was really about my grandmother my grandparents had a farm, and my grandma, really, she stayed in that town as it was dying. Literally, the grocery store burnt down, and they didn't replace it because there weren't enough people who were making money at farming anymore to even stay. So the farms now, as a lot of people know, are huge. There are very few small family farms. You can't make a living that way. And we just kind of watched the county change, and not always in a positive way. Those smaller farm towns just disappeared. There's a lot of people from my generation left. They didn't become farmers. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but a lot of people wanted to farm. They wanted to take over the family farm, but they couldn't. So Dawes County is about, the chorus is, I won't be coming home again, and there's just no reason for me to go home because my family left there when there was nothing to do. And once my grandparents had died, I knew I'd never be going back. And that song is me kind of trying to convince myself that I really don't want to. I don't miss the green grass. I don't miss the stars at night. I don't miss when it's so polite, but I do miss those things.
Yeah. Sort of a dichotomy. You're at least the love you had for that ideal town that you could have been in. That's what you miss, right? But if you can't really go back to that because it won't be there when you go.
That's exactly right. And
wow.
There's so many people who grew up in a town like that, and there's really nothing to go back to. But
Dawes County knows who I am. 3 generations on borrowed land. For years we farmed that piece of ground to which we're always bound. Used to be a pretty drive-through town. Now the streets are empty and the stores shut down. 15 churches, but you can't buy a drink. Hell of a missing link. And I won't be coming home again. Won't be coming home. And I won't be coming home again. Dawes County doesn't know where I've gone or how I've grown. I'm still the girl on Grandma
good. And you didn't obviously because you're somewhere else now. You're in whereabouts are you anyway in Colorado? Are you in what city are you near?
Boulder, Colorado.
Boulder, okay.
Boulder's right next to Denver, so
pretty stuff. Yeah,
big city now.
Yeah, I had my great granddad was in Denver for many years until he died. So that was our only excuse to go to Colorado was Denver. You know, he lived on the outskirts. Yeah, one of those suburbs.
Drive all the way from Nebraska to go to the mall because there was no mall in my town.
Yeah,
so we drive 4 hours from our town to get to the mall.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, but you're that's your first when you hear Dawes County. That's your first introduction on what Cass sings. What she sings like, at least if you're listening to this for the first time, Play Nice. This is my only introduction into it because I didn't hear, excuse me, I didn't hear the first album. So was it called Cass Clayton Band was the name of it? Or
yeah.
So I'll have to go back and check it out, and so will everybody else. But for the time being, this is a good entree into what you should sound like. It's beautiful stuff. And I complimented you on your voice. You have a unique voice. It's different than I was expecting. I don't know. Actually, I don't know what I'm expecting. Sometimes I just go with it. I go, what's this going to be? And then it wasn't like you didn't have like a baby girl voice or a twang voice or like that. It was more of it's suited for the kind of stuff that your band is playing right behind you. So
thank you. Yeah. I mean, people do tend to tell me, it's funny, I've been in these clubs where there's an upstairs stage and a downstairs stage.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
I always think it's like the best thing that can happen is when somebody comes up from downstairs or down, and they come in because they hear the band and they're like, oh, I want to hear that. That's the first compliment, which is just gives me chills. And when somebody comes in and then tells us later that like, I could not believe that voice came out of you. I just saw somebody different in my head. And I love that because, the voice is like, our voice is like a fingerprint. Everybody's voice is a unique thing. And I mean, one of the things I remember from like when my grandma died is just wishing I could hear her voice. And I had a dream where I heard her voice. It's such like, it just resonates. The voice is such, everybody's completely unique that way.
Yeah. It is interesting how this will all, it is a fingerprint. And I'm glad you have something that's unique. And it's the way you enunciate too. Like you were saying, you don't sing exactly the way you talk. So it's nice what comes out. People say that about me too. I don't sound like I'm talking right now. I sound a little, a different higher register when I sing. I don't know what it is, but it's a different, I don't know, it's a different part of your personality comes out, I guess, when you start to sing.
And the full range where you can stretch because, I have a low and, that higher register. So you have more to play with.
I was trying to figure out how to describe it. I didn't want to say the wrong thing, but it's a very grown up voice, very, very sophisticated. It has a nice what it reminded me of. I've just given you like first impressions of somebody I've had on my show a couple times. Tony Tennille reminds me of that type of voice.
Really? Oh,
yeah, she especially in the way you pronounce words, and it's that's
cool.
Like when you say Dawes County, you can hear all the the consonants. She did that too, and Marilyn McCoo is a very similar way. From the Fifth Dimension, same thing.
It's a delicate balance because we sing all this soulful music, and I want people to hear the lyrics without sounding like I'm over enunciating. Mm-hmm. But it is important for people to be able to hear the lyrics because one of the things there are a lot of genres where it does not matter as much.
True. Yeah.
It's really repetitive, or the chorus just repeats, and it's more. But almost everything we write. And Taylor Scott writes everything with me. It just is very story oriented. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do acoustic versions of some of the songs, because the story could be like really come through and get its chance to be heard. Because, the albums that I love often the first time I hear the song, it's just, oh, that's got a good groove. I kind of dig that, but I don't know how much I'm connected to it until I hear it a few times. And songs like Play Nice, that song is sexy. It needed to have.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the Play Nice. Well, since we hit on that one, that's kind of a nice little sort of a sexy creep type of. It's a minor key, so it's already got that sort of eerie vibe to it, and the solo is cool in it. I like the solo. I always like solos from the band.
Scott.
Not enough of that stuff in music these days, so I like to hear a good solo.
Oh, I'll tell him that because he's just the master of that. Doing the right thing for each song. And one of the amazing things that one of the things that I love about working with musicians who have been doing music for a long time and have a sensitivity, like I guess there's no other word for it, but just this sensitivity to what the song could be, is that it's not always about like going off, it's like, it sometimes just needs to be this thing that is sensitive and beautiful and sensual. And because
it didn't last for that long. It's probably about 30 seconds or less, but it was enough to grab you, right?
Yeah. I love that it makes me want more. And when we're live, I've asked him, do you want to double that solo? And he's like, no. He's like, I know why he's not giving us more. It's like that song is about yearning and about the moment and not getting more. Yeah.
So that's what Play Nice is about then. If I were to ask, you got to hear that song. Well, what is it about? And you would say it's kind of about that, right?
It's about two things, because I was always kind of obsessed with this idea of layers of songs. And I love Shakespeare and playing with words, where Shakespeare always had like 5 layers of meaning in certain words and playing with words. And that's less common in our culture now, but Play Nice is about playing nice music. And it's about, grown-ups playing nice together, and where those two come together, because, when you're listening to music, I don't know if other people have the experience the way that I do, but I literally equate it to falling in love sometimes. It just feels like, oh my God, in that moment, everybody in the room is just together, and it's very sensual.
Oh yeah. Now I got to hear it. No.
I see you walking in a gym, find your place at the bar. Pretty girl to the right, on the left, that old guitar. Seen you here before, bottom floor, on the main backstage. Guess it wasn't time to know you, so we went on our way. When you let down, you know how to move the atmosphere. And I'm leaning in, the whole crowd just fades and disappears. Don't really know you, but you cut through to my softer side. And I almost didn't notice when they turned on the lights. Play nice, play nice, play nice. Play nice, play nice, play nice. Not here for romance, but by chance you walk over my way. People all around, but your eyes never wander away. Under the warm sky, you ask me why should we have to wait? Could we spend some time together, never know it might be fate. Play nice, play nice. sure ain't friends. Play nice, 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 play nice. Play nice, play nice, play nice. See you later, sweet stranger.
I did enjoy that. And Little Things, I'll get to that in a second, but I had to compliment you. B-side is a great, first of all, that's a great concept to write a song about. You know, you got your A-side and your B-side. I just like, that's the kind of song I like to write, or wish I had written, because I like doing stuff like that where you play with, you know, it's almost an analogy. You know, this is the A-side, this is the B-side, you know.
Yes, and we all have this like part of us that is showing what we want people to see, right? Like,
Yeah.
nobody on Facebook ever says, hey, look at the spider veins on my legs at the beach. No, they're like
Right.
photoshopped to death, and they like, it's their A-side, right? That once you know somebody, you really have to get around to, that's how you know if the relationship is real. Can you show the B-side eventually?
Exactly. True.
If you were a record on my shelf, you know I play you night and day. Running that same song round and round till I wear the grooves away. Playing the A-side, A-side, over and over and over again. What about the B-side? Sooner or later we got to jump in. I don't know what keeps you up in the middle of the night. What's hidden in your shadows? Do you bark before you bite? Playing the A-side, A-side, over and over all night long. What about the B-side? I won't judge you right or wrong. If we're gonna be together, no need to bite your tongue. Some songs are for everyone, but that don't mean that they should go unsung. I want the B-side. Yeah, I want the B-side too. You should know I'm not the one you gotta hide your secrets from. I could dig them out of you. Don't you know I could love that too? And while we're on the subject, wouldn't you like to know what's hidden in between the lines that I'm too afraid to show? Playing the A-side, A-side, over and over and over again. What about the B-side? Oh, we got to jump in.
truth be told, I really am more of composing the music and lyrics I have to work at. But I like making the musical part, but I can do it and I've done it. But it's always fun. Like you said, you have somebody that's writing with you, so that helps carry it, and plus it energizes you too. You might come up with stuff that you wouldn't have done on your own. So
it does, and it puts my feet to the fire because one of the things about writing with somebody else is that you have not only is it a deadline, even if you both created the deadline and it's false, it's not like somebody's going to die if you don't write the song, but it gives me a reason to show up with 3 verses, a chorus, a bridge, whatever. And also the expectation, because I want the person who I'm working with, regardless of who they are, to feel like we have a reason to be together and that we're doing something that is really on a high level. That, and because, there are infinite levels of this thing. We're always learning. There's so much infinite stuff you can learn about music. And I'm the newbie. So since I'm always the greenest person in the room, I never want to walk into a room with like some, it kind of sucks. Yeah. I want to know where I'm going. Now, sometimes I have had to do that. It's not, sometimes I think I've got something and then I'm like, it's just not there yet. But usually I want the person I'm writing with to feel passionately about what we're writing.
Yeah, and it might be awful what you bring to the table, but at least you're prepared. You have something, and then you can, maybe between the two of you, like if you and Taylor are creating something, then you can sort of get a consent, or you'll. That's what a collaboration is all about. Did we agree that it was bad, or this has something that maybe if we work on it, it can be something really good.
Yeah, a lot of times that person you're with can help you come up with a fix when you're like in this rabbit hole. Because you know how you can get in your head after a while. Like, it's the worst thing ever because, art has to kind of get out of the head and eventually come from your heart. But your head is also involved. It's an intellectual process too. And the pressure to write, especially after you've had some people who are waiting for your next music, you're also have this head game of you don't want to disappoint them. You want them to love the next thing too. Oh yeah. And all of those things can be obstacles. I mean, it's really important to have somebody else there who can go, you're thinking too hard about this. What about if we just simplify this and wrote this? And why didn't I think of that? No, I wasn't there yet. So it's really, really helpful to have a co-writer. I found that very thing to be helpful because if I didn't have that as much as I did, I wouldn't create, because I was constantly checking myself or being too perfectionistic about something, if that's a word, and just be constantly second guessing. That it? Should I have? I don't know if I think I'll throw that verse out. It wasn't that good, and totally. Yeah. I actually did that on the last album. I had thrown out a verse because I was afraid of. Really that it was saying it was a little risque. That was my concern. And Taylor, I sung that song for him one time and he had come up with a lot of the musical arrangement for it already. And I just changed the verse. I never mentioned it. He's like, where did that thing? And he literally word for word repeated it. And I'm like, I just thought it was just, too risque. And he's like, no, that's what you wanted to say. Don't take something out just because you're afraid that people won't like you. Yeah. I was like, but I am afraid they won't like me. and plus if you're collaborating with somebody that knows what they're doing, they may be able to soften it in a way that'll make it really make it pop. Harsh. It was the lyric was, is she an angel or a whore? Is she just what you adore or hate? And it was really about deeper than what you think a person is on the surface. Just because a woman is, it was about stereotypes. And it needed to be that. And it's the only like harsh in your face line in the entire album. And it needed to be that. It wasn't, I never write things just to be confrontational.
Yeah, that's good. And thank you for no F words and things like that. I hear too much of that. It's not that I'll criticize you for that stuff, but it's nice to hear something where I can just sit back and go, this is just great stuff to listen to. And I don't have to be judgmental about how it's, oh no, can I play this in public, or, that kind of stuff.
Thank you. No, I know what that's like. It's no, I'm, I think sometimes it just doesn't need to be, it's not shocking anymore anyway. Why does everybody have to swear all the time?
I don't know. Yeah, yes. So, as a matter of fact, sometimes I go, well, how original. You just threw another F word into your song or whatever. Or, totally. I understand that people will do that to get their point across. And it came from in here and everything. But maybe that's just my commentary. I'm no prude against that kind of stuff. Let it fly. If that's what it
works. Like, yeah. I mean, sometimes there is a reason to do that, but I haven't had a reason yet. And there's, I'm not going to just throw it in.
Yeah. But anyway, excuse me. But yeah, B-side, just to wrap that up, I was mentioning how much I like the music. Yeah, good bass line and good guitar work in it. So it was just a lot of fun to listen to it musically. And, of course, your voice comes along and drives it home. And
I appreciate that. That was
your voice is a great instrument. I'm glad that you've, if it was sort of natural for you to work your way into doing this, it's nice that.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you. It's a joy to be able to sing. I mean, I think it's part of just being human to sing. And
oh yeah, yeah. And your use of horns. I think Little Things had horns in them, right? You had those, and another one, No Use in Crying, I think had horns in it. Yes, so it's fun to hear that kind of stuff. It sort of harkens a little of that Muscle Shoals type of.
Get that little thing going, or R&B sound. And I love horns, but I'm really, really picky about where they are. I don't like them to be like blaring in every song. And the bands that do it well, it's just like, oh man.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite bands that have horns, it's a very, very delicate thing, the way you balance all of that, and everybody still gets to have their instrument heard.
Yeah, they weren't brassy or blaring in your ear. They were subtle enough to get you. Yeah, you could hear the melody coming through with each one, and
like old school music used to have horn sections that were so tasteful. But there's a contemporary thing that's happening that sometimes it's not soulful, or it just takes over.
Well, here I was trying to spotlight certain tracks, but I'm just sort of all over the place. All these tracks are really fun to, they each have their own little personality, and they're, it's not like the whole album sounds exactly the same, and that's good. That's good that you do that.
That's a huge deal to me, because we've always kind of been non-denominational, which is kind of one of the advantages of maybe not having a record company, is that the record company doesn't tell you what to do.
Yeah.
They don't tell you, oh, this was the hit, and so you've got to do a whole album that sounds like that.
Yeah. So now you can choose, but at the same time, you're responsible enough to know that if people are going to gravitate, and listen to it, you want a lot of people to enjoy it, so you make it appealing to everyone, right?
There's got to be a thread that runs through it that sounds like your band.
Yeah, so it's uniquely you, right? Yeah. Let me think about one other one. Doesn't Make Sense was a nice groove. I like the groove on that one.
Thank you.
I was just.
God, I loved writing that song. That song was one that just almost wrote itself. It was so fast.
Sort of like, and the drummer didn't have to do much. He just sort of like keep the beat and get it, it's let it cook. Little 16 beat straight ahead. It sounds like he just kept doing that.
Well, because the way you describe things, you can tell you're a musician.
Yeah, sort of. I'm very illiterate when it comes to that, but I'm self-taught, so everything comes out of here, rather than mostly in my head. So
that's cool. That's the way music should be felt. It's just, it hits you. And then
I am envious of those who've gone before me, and they can read music well, and but sometimes just reading it and playing it is one thing, and to make that transition to writing your own songs, and sometimes it doesn't work because they're too technical and they don't want to let go of that thing. So, and that's fine. You need those people to do the technical stuff. But.
Absolutely. I mean, you need both kinds. And I was telling a musician who I really respect one time that I wish I would have gone to music school. And he was like, because he had gone to music school, and he's like, yeah, it can kind of ruin things for you too. Yeah. It had taken some of the joy out of it for him. But I know a ton of musicians who have their doctorate in music and it hasn't taken the joy out for them. I think it would be great to take that deep dive and understand everything about theory. And I like to go deep on things. It's not completely out of the question that I will not at some point go to music school just for myself.
I think I'm the same way. However, I'll let you do it at first, because I don't know if I don't have that attention span that you were talking about earlier. I like to be in the moment and create the way I want to. And I feel like, learning too much will destroy it. Somebody told me that once, and I guess I believed it. You might destroy that edge you have by creating stuff from the heart.
Absolutely. I mean, really great music. A lot of the music that you and I probably love, not one person in that band can read a note.
Yeah.
There are a lot of great bands that nobody reads music, nobody knows theory. They just feel it and they know how to do it. And there's a lot of value to that too. But I just like to know stuff. I mean,
me too.
I think sometimes I just there's a bookish, nerdy part of me that wants to know things.
Well, like I said, I'm all over the map. I thought there would be some kind of nice, very regimented way I was going to present all these tracks on the albums, but I just thought I'd compliment it. Tattered and Torn. Maybe you could, since I was asking for stories, how did that come about? Because that's a pretty epic little recording you made there.
Thank you. That song came out of, I ran across, I was actually cleaning, and I ran across my grandma's Bible. I inherited her Bible, and which is ironic because I am very, very spiritual, but I do not really get a lot out of church. It's just not my thing. But I went to church, Bible camp. I went to everything because Grandma sent us to all that stuff. And
sure.
So I wanted her Bible because it had all her scribbles in it and all her notes, and she and I were really close. And it was tattered and torn. I mean, literally tattered and torn. So I loved that title. I wrote it down. And then when I was writing the album, I found the title, but I didn't want to write it about the church because the church was not really what I'm about. But it occurred to me that the people who are really interesting to me in life are the ones who are tattered and torn, who have some rough edges. We all have been through some tough stuff, I mean, I wish sometimes that I hadn't been through some of the difficulties that I've been through, but the thing about going through hard times is that it allows you to accept people and their choices when they don't make sense, because you've done things that didn't make sense to people sometimes and that people judged. So tattered and torn, all your edges are worn, but I love your story just like you.
Don't tell me the fairy tale. You know I'm not so frail. I've had my own twists and turns along the road. Will you let someone share your tale? Look underneath the veil. We both know that the cover's just for show. And I wish you would tell me, what do you have to say? And do you think maybe your heart could find a way to let go and show me what's in the storyline, your questions and answers? 'Cause baby, I can't
find people's stories, they're not really who we are, but we do use our stories to define ourselves. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of our most traumatic things that happen to us become the things that define us. Either we're not going to do that anymore, or we're going down that path full charge. And I really think it's important for myself to meet myself where I am. I am not pretty around the edges. You don't have to listen to more than a few songs to know that I'm a little bit not a simple person sometimes, which is why I have to do this.
Well, that's fine. A lot of us didn't know you 10 years ago because you weren't doing this stuff. So all we'll know from you is what you disclose to us in lyric form and what you say here, and that's great. We don't have to know everything, but it's nice. It's nice when we can get that little glimpse and we can sort of like, oh yeah, what you just wrote there. I know somebody you're just like my sister, or you're just like whatever, and I can relate to what you just wrote in that one song. And that's kind of what it's all about when you do that. It's a little give and take.
It is. It shows, we're so multidimensional, and at the same time, we are very much way, way bigger than our immediate story. And we're making it all up. It's why, I don't know if you have siblings, but I've had this experience with my siblings before where we both were at the same experience in the same household, but we perceive it very, very differently. Like one sibling can be really hurt over something. The other one can find it to be hilarious. Another one's like, oh, that makes me sad to even hear that. Like, people filter everything through their own lens. And so you can grow up with the same family and perceive your life very differently. Yeah.
But at the same time, you have that bond. You grew up, and you have that experience to go off of, whether you agreed it in the same way. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was your computer telling me to stop with that thought. Stop that.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry about those beeps. I don't know how to get rid of them.
That's okay. That's fine. I told you it's not a perfect thing. I live for the little background noises and stuff like that, as long as it's not annoying you, and that's great.
Not all. It's part of life, right?
Yeah. What else can I compliment you? Oh, you did the song, another one that you did a couple versions, The Most Beautiful.
Yes.
I was curious what that's another one that's sort of, I think that's the one that's, it slows down a little bit. It's a little ballad type of thing. And I guess there was, maybe I didn't get it right when I listened to it. You're talking about being able to hear the lyrics. Did you write something like All the Freaks That We Meet? Goes on
all the freaks that we meet, the pointers and laughers impaired by conceit.
Yeah.
It's about being, the way this song came about is so weird. And I think some songs are things that you conceive of and you're going to write that someday. This song was a song I did not know was coming in. It was the final song I wrote for the album. And it was really late at night. And I told Taylor that I was going to have a song the next day. And we were going to be in the studio, not to produce that song, but we were going to meet and write. And I was going to have this done. And so I've never said that and then not done it. And I wasn't going to start that day. So it was like midnight and I'm surfing around the internet, looking for any inspiration, any ideas. I just didn't have anything. I'd gone through my piles of notes and all of a sudden I ran across this history of freak shows and this idea that people sold off a family member because they didn't fit, because they had a disability. And it really bothered me. I mean, my sister has a child with a disability and, it was just the meanness of humanity, the lack of kindness. And we don't do that anymore, right? But we do it in new and creative ways. We find ways to be unkind to each other. And so in this song, the freaks are the mean people. Basically I just turned it around because we all have the freak inside us. We all have the person, and we all have had that done to us. And it's like, when are we going to be when are we going to get past that? Like, it just takes a little bit of conscious effort. But it's, you know, in the song, there is like this, all the freaks that we meet, the pointers and laughers impaired by conceit, grotesquely two-faced, we pray for their misshapen souls, because it is a misshapenness about us. You know, it's the part of us that's kind of skewed, that wants to laugh at somebody who's already got enough going on, you know, like, but in, you know, and then there's a part that I always feel like I have to explain, because in the chorus, it says, you know, to be careful because the preacher will throw the first stone. And, you know, I'm always concerned that people are going to take that as a religious jab, and it is a little bit, because I did grow up in a church where there was a lot of judgment. It's got that element to it, but it's not, you know, there are also a lot of really good things that come out of religion. It's more a commentary on people of authority who make it okay to be unkind, because it's human nature to follow leaders. The leaders have just an enormous thing that they have to carry, and they have to be kind. Like, in my mind, if somebody's a leader, that's baseline. You've got to be kind, because people are going to do what you do.
The man with 3 legs goes town to town with Siamese twins and wolf girl renowned for howling at the crowd to fill the tip jar. She's richer than them by far. The most beautiful girl in the world is disguised in a body as large as a wide open sky. They don't look very deep, they just gape and mistake, as if she's not really there. All the freaks that we meet, the pointers and laughers impaired by conceit, grotesquely two-faced, we pray for the misshapen souls. All the freaks that we meet, God-fearing witnesses, drunk with deceit. Keep your eyes open, the preacher will throw the first stone. The tallest man alive has brittle bones and somber eyes from years alone. Doesn't say much, but his words are true, even though he's pay-per-view. The tiniest couple, a woman and man, they had a child you could fit in one hand. They didn't live long, and the people they came to see the world's smallest grave. All the freaks that we meet, the pointers and laughers impaired by conceit, grotesquely two-faced, we pray for the misshapen souls. All the freaks that we meet, God-fearing witnesses, drunk with deceit. Keep your eyes open, the preacher will throw the first stone.
Wow, Cass, you're good. That's a wonderful. I guess it only takes a very interesting point, what you made in that song, and just expand on that thought and turn it into something that was pretty poetic and pretty poignant. What you wrote in that song. Now that I know more about it,
Thank you.
I have to listen to it again, because it was like I said, the musical part of the song draws me in, but then that's just my personality coming through, because I tend to gravitate first to the music and then the lyrics, because that's how I'm built. I'm built more on the music and the melody and how it'll touch you. Yeah.
Well, and that's the magic of writing with Taylor Scott. And I know I'm kind of going on about him here and there, but none of the music would be what it is without him. It's really, it's just like, there's somebody like a puppet master and I'm one arm and he's the other arm, because when he heard that song, the way he played the guitar out of the box, like as fast as that song came through, that concept came through, I wrote the whole thing in like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours that night. And the guitar part that he did was just like that. It was just, he wrote the whole thing, composed it front to back, just like that. It was just so pretty. And he felt how painful, like it was a long time before I could sing that song without crying. When we took that song into the studio, I was upstairs in an isolation booth, and I was so grateful to be up there, because that song, it's really the only song that's ever made me cry over and over again.
Oh.
Because there's this lyric in it where the tiniest couple, this woman and man, had a child you could fit in one hand, who's part of the freak show.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't live long, but they invited all the people came and to see the world's smallest grave. And the idea of people coming to see a spectacle of somebody's loss and that kind of stuff. I know it's dramatic, but that's the part of that song that was like, there's a part of all of us that has been really hurt on a level that nobody can take it back, because it is, every human has had something done to them when they were 5 or 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
There are some things you can't take back. And, it's just, I guess that's the part for me that I couldn't get past when I was singing it. And then eventually I just sang it in front of a mirror a bunch of times and tried to get sad over it until the sadness went away.
Don't cry anymore.
Because I'm so not a crybaby. I'm like, I'm a person who I really try to cry and then I can't. If people are like, God, I really should be able to cry. I must be a jerk if I can't cry. Then it'll be like 2 months later, I'll cry. But I can't usually process emotion in the moment. I'm like, I don't know. It's not there for me. It takes me a while. But
you can tell it's authentic no matter what you're doing, because the song came from a part of you. So
yeah,
it's there.
It touched a nerve.
That's great. Well, shoot, this is a wonderful album. So I just had to compliment you on. Plus, I go and circle back to that Tattered and Torn. One thing I didn't compliment whoever's playing that piano solo. Another great thing there too. So I like solos no matter where they're coming from. You're talking about a good organ solo, piano solo too, depending on the genre. It's just especially if they can really bang it out. Honky tonk style or whatever he's doing there.
I love piano music. That was Tom Amend on that. He's just one of the best players out there. And John Wirtz is the other person who plays with us on a lot of songs. And I just went to a show that was it was him and a trio with his original music. And I'm like, oh man, there's so many people who just blow me away. There's so much good music out there. Yeah. Sometimes it's almost depressing. It's like, oh man, there's so much good stuff out there. There's more good music than there's ever been. And there's more just kind of nothing, boring music that anybody could write. It's like both. But, there's so much creativity and brilliance happening in the musical world. And my favorite thing is when somebody's like, hey, have you heard this band? And I'm like, no, I haven't. They're like, you should listen to them. And I'll kind of have that's probably not my thing,
Yeah.
And then if it's a surprise and I love it, I'm just like, how did I not know about this band? It's so good. That's just a joyful moment.
Yeah, you won't know until you actually listen to it, and then you'll know if it's bad or good. So,
Yeah.
it's only you can decide whether it touches your heart. So, and if it's good music, I mean, I just like it's a good feeling, even if it was. Even if every song you wrote was like really depressing, but happy music, I'm still enjoying it because
totally. Sometimes depressing music is my favorite. Like sometimes it makes me happy to hear a sad song.
Yeah, you can't have everything happy. I try to do that too, but most of my stuff comes out too happy, so that's why.
Oh my gosh! If I write a happy song, I'm just like, something joyful came out. I don't know what it is, but I tend to the cynical side of myself comes out when I write, even though in life I am extremely happy.
Yeah.
The part that I need to process is what comes out in the writing.
Yeah. I feel that way too. And it's weird how we were saying that what you grew up on. Like I grew up on listening to all different genres of music, 70s and 80s. You know how people will say like, "Oh, I'm into everything." Well, I really was. I would listen to just about anything and process it. And it's funny because I would listen to all kinds of. I was there when the new wave and the punk area was just coming in, and so there was a lot of nasty in music, and there was a lot of raucous music.
Yeah.
And then the '80s came, and there was some more like misbehaving artists out there, and Madonna started coming along, and things were getting nasty again, and it was becoming, so it ebbs and flows. And I would absorb all that stuff, but when I would try to put something out, I didn't put out anything that was mean or nasty or vulgar or any of that stuff. It still came out in a happy way, in a positive way. So,
I mean, that's the beautiful thing. It's like I often hear, somebody else's songs and I'll be like, wow, I wish I would have written that song.
Yeah.
That's a great song. There's an artist named Dan Reeder who I was introduced to not too long ago, a few months ago. And he writes some like nasty lyrics, but the way he sings them is so unexpected. If you haven't heard Dan Reeder, he is a very, very brilliant writer and kind of the singer-songwriter style. He's got this gentle, quiet voice that he often double layers, and he's shocking. He's a good reason to swear in a song because he does it for a reason, to make a point or to be, sometimes it's comical. Sometimes I either am rolling laughing when I'm hearing his music, or I'm just like, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Yeah. Sometimes both consecutively. But when I hear something that I wish I would have written, I'm still aware that, that's not mine to write. It's really cool, but like we all have our own thing. So I know what you're saying when you say, I wish I was, my stuff comes out happy, but that's good because people need that. Every one of us is giving people something they need. Yeah,
and if I sang one of Dan Reeder's songs, like tried to cover it, I would feel uncomfortable trying to use the same language he did in one of those songs. That wouldn't be my personality, but I could come out with a different way. Yeah.
Oh my God, I could never cover his songs, but they're so good, and I love finding. It's like a treasure hunt.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'm afraid I would cover things like that, and be, I would. What I used to tell my wife, I would Pat Boone-ize it, turn it into something. Turning it into a very clean version. All of a sudden, what is that happened? Yeah. Oh, you took all the soul and the grit out of it and turned it into something easy listening or something like that. But I don't know. Who knows why that happens? But I didn't grow up.
Shine through.
Yeah, I didn't grow up thinking that if I was going to make music, it was going to come out. My stuff always sounded more like 80s sophisticated 80s pop, like that was Sade, Simply Red. The Police, all this kind of stuff. That was the way I liked it.
These kids, so
so I always patterned my stuff after that. I figure if I'm going to put something out, I want it to sound like something I would have bought at the store. Yeah,
I mean,
used to do that.
Was an exciting era for music. People forget that there was a lot of innovative stuff that happened in the 80s. We may make fun of it now, but there was.
They always make fun of it.
always. And I even, there's a lot of it that I think is super cheesy, but there were multiple musical movements that happened consecutively.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I liked them all. And it's just weird to watch them.
I liked most of them. I love that you liked them all, because the one that I didn't ever connect with at all was heavy metal. I just didn't get it.
Yeah. It could be very repetitive. And a lot of them started to sound alike because, you got everybody wanted, all these genres would copy. They'd go, oh, this is the direction we should all go. And then they would all sound the same. It was tough to just differentiate after a while. Heavy metal was notorious for that because they all looked alike and they all sounded alike. So
absolutely. And then every dude you knew in high school was like trying to be that with the hair and
yeah. I think that's what happened. I think I remember hearing Guns N' Roses, Slash was saying that they were sort of like, we were the antithesis of that. We were getting so sick and tired of watching these dudes with all the hair and everything like that, and the spandex pants and the and they were glamming themselves up, and we didn't want to do that kind of stuff. But
and it's funny, like now, even though I didn't like heavy metal back then, when I once in a while when I hear something, you'll just be walking a store or whatever, and there it is, and it still is nostalgic. There's something that I like more about hearing it now than I did then, because it takes me to it. Music is so powerful that way. Yeah. It just takes you right to where you were. I can remember, because I moved a lot from 10 years old. When I was 10 years old, we started moving, and then I left Nebraska for a while. Moved
really?
all over the place. I can remember which house we were in based on what the music was that year.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just how it is in your memories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Yeah. I keep wanting to just sort of like talk and talk and talk. This has been fun just going on, and I hope I'm not taking all your time up.
Your questions have been so really interesting, because I mean,
thank you.
Asking questions from a songwriting standpoint that, most people don't ask. And, when you do interviews, you tend to get the same types of questions. And Taylor and I have joked about it. Like, he'll say, if one more person asked me how old I was when I started playing guitar, that's the first question people ask him. But yeah, not one of your questions has been something that anybody's asked me before.
I've gone in that direction. If all else fails, I'll go back to them and say, hey, like, when did you start? And, and then I'll go from there. That's usually like a jumping off point before I can, so it lead me into something.
And it can be important, because when you see somebody who's a young artist who's already attained a level of success, you're like, well, how did that happen? People do need that context.
Yeah, because if I'll ask stuff about, like I asked you about your husband and your daughter, and if that's fine, but there's a reason for it. Like I asked you, I went on like that. Or I'll say, like, where did you go to school and what happened there? And, when did you learn music? And all those stuff are interesting, but it all depends on the person I'm talking to. Maybe that's not interesting for that person.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you're just, you're more open.
Oh, I've gotten some people who say, oh, well, have me email me a list of the questions you're going to ask. And I don't know them yet. It depends on,
I mean, I've done that many times where they give you the list of questions. Although where it has been helpful, there was one that recently that asked me to do that. And they asked some questions where I would have had to think, and there would have been a lot of airtime because it wasn't going to be pre-recorded. So it was live. So they wanted me to think about it, so I didn't go, leave 10 seconds of dead air. So I get that side of it. But it's fun to just have the conversation. It's more natural.
Oh, it's a lot more fun now that I'm doing this as a podcast type of. It was a radio show that lasted for half an hour, and sometimes it would go so long I'd have to split it into 2 parts or 3 parts, and this way we can just go and we can riff and keep it going until it's time to now I got to eat and or that kind of thing. But it's we've been on here for a little bit, so it's going to be like another very special episode with Cass Clayton, and we've been you'll definitely get your. It's going to be a challenge to spotlight just the track. I'll probably just choose a few tracks just to keep people interested. I'm not going to play the whole album. You go to her website for that and find out. Go get her deluxe edition. I think it's CassClayton.com, which is a lot of C's in there. Yeah,
a lot of C's, exactly.
Yeah. What's Cass short for, or is your name Cass?
It was Cassandra.
It is. Oh, good. I was hoping it was.
For years, I went by Cassandra, and then, when I started singing, I was Cassandra, and when I was a kid, I was Cass. But for business, I was working with 3 Kathys, and so the lady at that said you have to go with with Cassandra, because when people ask for Cass, I hear Kath, like Kathy.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
I have to ask too many questions, so I went back to Cassandra for years. And but the funny thing about it is when I went and I started singing, Dan said, "You can't be Cassandra. It just is not a blues name. And you have to be Cass Clayton." And I'm like, well, that's easy because I was Cass Clayton until I was like 25 and had to do it for work. So
no, that's good advice. I think Cass Clayton works very well for what you're doing here. So
it works.
Change it anytime you want. I mean, John Cougar Mellencamp had to do that stuff all over the place. Yeah, he was one. He was Johnny Cougar, and then he was whatever.
Mellencamp.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I listened to all his. My husband is a huge fan of his because he grew up in Indiana.
Oh yeah.
Indiana boy, and did the Farm Aid, and we still own a farm in Indiana. So and we're involved in a farm rescue program. So we're still steeped in farming.
Wow, farm rescue program. That sounds interesting. That sounds like a lot of work too. I don't know. I hope it's not.
Work. I'm not actually doing that work. So my husband just went up to South Dakota because if a farmer is injured or they get really sick, this farm rescue program sends people and they do all the work. They harvest. So he just went up there with another guy and they harvested 3,000 acres for a farmer who was severely injured. So it allows them to keep their livelihood when they can't.
Oh, what a noble cause. What a wonderful thing to do. Yeah, and sounds like he's just the guy, used to be a CEO. He probably knows what he's doing, organizing things.
Oh my gosh. He lives, honestly, if he could have made money just digging in the dirt and being a farmer full time, he would have done that.
Good for him. I don't know. After a while, I got tired of digging in the dirt. There's other things to do. I do get my hands dirty. I mean, my side hustle is not this, but I work for schools cleaning them up, and so that's my thing.
Oh my gosh, that's so. In my daughter's school, the parents rotate cleaning the classroom, and those kids are messy.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Who taught you to eat snacks? It's like you're like crackers. Like
I would. You're talking about one generation to the next. The generation I'm seeing now is like, do you do this at home? Do you just drop stuff right there and without throwing it in the trash can? That trash can is literally 5 feet from you. Why didn't you just throw it in there? And they'll say, okay, I'll do it. I'm not the one telling them to do it, but I'll see classrooms with just they're just a mess. And the Pepperidge Farm goldfish all over there and straws and wrappers and
thing. And I'm like, well, and when my daughter was younger and doing sleepovers, the parents would often tell me, your daughter, she put her own dishes in the dishwasher without being asked. And that really impressed me. And I'm like, we should all be doing that,
Yeah, isn't that, shouldn't.
That's nothing because, if you're a farm kid, you grew up getting up at 4:30 in the morning and shoveling poop before you went to school and feeding calves and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And those kids have a work ethic. Our children, we have to build in things for them to learn how to have a work ethic. It's not they don't have a natural habitat.
I think we built that into my kids. My kids are fully grown now. Yeah, they're into their 30s now, cool. but they've we spoiled them in other ways, But believe me, we said the dishwasher thing. We say, oh, big deal. So you did it. So what did you do this other thing over here? Did you take the trash out like I asked you to, or that kind of thing?
Totally, yeah, it's true.
It's just simple chores. That's what family life is,
Yes, that kind of stuff. It is. I guess. What's happening now is that, there are a lot of people who go into the workplace and they really want to be important without earning it. And that, I think, is, unfortunately, they are training the managers instead of the other way around because there's so many of them that you really can't change a whole generation. The generation changes the company. Yes,
I see that point. And plus, just in general, pop culture and everything, it seems like that what's more important is to be famous now, like online or whatever, if you want to be a YouTube influencer or whatever, oh yeah, I'm going to do that stuff, or I'm going to play video games for a living. I think I can do that.
Yes.
And I said, oh, wow. My dad would have knocked me in the head. So what are you, stupid? No, he wouldn't have said that, but I mean, he would have in some ways
said that for sure.
Yeah.
He would have, well, I mean,
I know he would have been thinking it, but I don't think he would have said it.
Kind and gentle about saying that's stupid.
No, there was a lot of truth in when I said that, because my dad, he would have definitely, he would have set me straight on something like that. So,
mine too. There is
So did you get questions like this from your other interviews? Like
no,
talking about family, taking out the garbage or whatever, dishwasher stuff.
I mean, I love when, somebody asked John Mayer, not John Mayer, who was it? Oh, Gary
Clark
Jr. Gary Clark Jr. Yeah.
Yeah. Another guitar player. Yeah. Gotcha.
Something about his wife. And he's like, she just tells me to take out the trash,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I'm not the rock star at home.
Yeah.
People just go on living their lives, and of course, as you know, most of us we do this because we love it. There's no other reason to do music other than that you love it, because there's not an industry that sells, 1 million copies of an album anymore, now that there's a way to stream it. So you just have to do it because you have to do it for your soul.
And as my other old timer guest would say, that the streaming stuff, that's not that's good exposure, but it ain't gonna make you any money. It's just
gonna make you any money.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
It's a good way to put it out there. So, my stuff's on Spotify or whatever the service is, and
yes,
I don't even know what's the big thing. I mean, you could be putting your stuff out there too, right? You got streaming. You got to do that to be part of it anyway.
You can find our music anywhere, but and most of our music is heard through Spotify for sure.
Good.
We some Apple, iTunes stuff, and
well, let me ask you this: do you mind that people are watching like a YouTube video that you put out or something? Did you put?
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's okay, right?
Hear the music, we love it, because the thing is, what happens, I guess, having not done this for a long time, I didn't come out of the industry from when I'm just saying, I know a lot of musicians around here, very successful musicians who were around when, they made $4,000 for a gig just as the drummer, touring the world with a big name band.
Right.
That's not there anymore. So there's a lot of bitterness, but what I see is that there's a shift to a new revenue model, and it's not all a loss. It's just, we're catching up. It's like, what is the model for us now? And one of the things that I think is good is that there's equal opportunity for you to get your music out. It's more personal. So if somebody goes and listens to my music free, the first time they're like, oh yeah, the second time, then the third time they might come to a show, and you start building a relationship. The people who have come to show after show, they bring people, they buy everything, every t-shirt, everything that they can get their hands on that has our brand on it. That is kind of the new model. And there's, you can be bitter about it, or you can build it in this new way.
Right. I'll disclose something. The previous interview I had just before you, John D. Nicola, he's a songwriter, and you would know his songs from Dirty Dancing. He wrote I've Had the Time of My Life.
Yes.
And
oh my God. Yes.
And he wrote Hungry Eyes for.
I know that song well. That's a great song.
And we were talking about the music business and how he started, and you have to love what you're doing. But we were talking about the business models for today, and that it's tough. But there's always a bit of optimism in his voice when he talks about that, and I said, it's kind of like, going through a long tunnel with a candlestick, maybe you can only see in front of you just a little bit, but you know where you're going to go, and you'll make it if you're driven to do it.
I think like the thing that I feel is like, I want to leave behind the legacy of a healthier music industry for the next people who come along, because right now we're kind of blazing a trail. We don't know what it's going to look like. Streaming is really new. There is no model. It's the Wild West.
Yeah.
But there's also never been a time where I could build my entire fan base through Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. So I can reach these people who there are thousands and thousands of bands who are really legitimate and have a big following that we've never heard of.
That's
because
true.
They have their own audience. You can have this niche that nobody knows about except your fans.
Yeah. Isn't that good though? And it's great when you discover it and wow, I've just discovered something great. And then you find out, they've had a following. Oh, didn't you know about them? Oh yeah, I've been listening to them for years and years.
Totally. There are those yes, I think we'd all love the revenue model to be better, but it's going to get there. I can see it. I know it's going to get there.
Well, I was right there at the cusp when you remember when Napster was going on, and it ruined it. A lot of people said it ruined a lot of record companies were having a tough time with it, and it was more toward the artists. The artists were hurting because people weren't buying their music anymore. They were going to getting it free. That's when I was trying to make it with my buddy. We were trying to put our stuff online, and when it was just like at the wrong time. I think it just sort of.
Things were just really changing then. And
it taught us that, it's not all about making money. We wanted to make sure we wanted to have some kind of income so we could create more of that music. We wanted
That's the other thing.
Seed it and then bring more. But it was tough, and it's tough now. But
yes, it is.
There's always ways to do it. You just got to be open to it, I think.
There are. I think, we've gotten creative, like the studio where we produce our music. We share rights with the engineer who owns Far and Away Studios. It's Jeff Gray. So on the last two albums, he shared rights to the music with us so that we could be in the studio and not have to worry about the clock ticking. Because I think one of the worst things you can do for an art form is be like, oh my God, if we don't get this done in an hour, I'm going to be in debt. Yes. It's just terrible for the process. And so I wanted to not be on the clock. And so he allowed us to do that. People are getting creative about this.
Yeah. we were talking earlier in the show about phones, how don't be, but there is one little caveat to that. I do, or an exception rather, that I have to make sure my wife isn't trying to get a hold of me as we're talking here. Because there's things, and so far so good. And that's another thing you were talking about, how your husband supports you. She does the same thing. And I always include her if they're, when before COVID, I would take her to events where I would try to find, try to meet these people. Like if you were appearing in Los Angeles, I would try to make time to go see your show and bring her along, and it'd be fun to do stuff like that. But
well, when we're on the road again, I will let you know when we're coming to LA and Orange County, because we will be there eventually again.
Oh yeah, would be wonderful.
You and your wife in person, because we were just getting. It was going to be such a huge year, and I know so many bands that were like 2020. We've got like everything's going to be great. We had a lot booked, but the other side of it is, I've never written more music.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the thing. If you play this thing right, you can create and get some things done.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I had to go back. I had a little tiny break there, from my job, but then I had to get right back on the horse and start doing it again. And then I had to slow down what I do here. I have so much fun doing this show. So, and it's a
cool show. It's a great concept because songwriters follow other songwriters. That's how we learn. Like I was saying, I read books by songwriters. I listen to songwriters. In fact, to the point that the bands that I love the most, when I'm in the process of writing and taking stuff into the studio, I do not allow myself to listen to them. Like right now, I am not allowed to listen to Tedeschi Trucks Band, period.
Oh, okay.
Because I love them so much.
That's why. Okay.
And there is that danger of like getting sucked into the vortex of their amazingness, and it can influence you too much. And so I don't listen to the bands that are just, that I absolutely love and can't get enough of when I'm writing.
Okay.
I'll listen to other stuff that's like, oh wow, I really dig that. And a lot of times it's a tricky thing. You don't want to copy, and so you stay, like, I'll stay away from Bonnie Raitt if I know I'm going to have to create something on slide guitar. Because I don't want to.
Which is something you play, right? You play the slide guitar. Yeah. We didn't mention that before. Yeah, Cass Clayton plays an instrument, and we never even talked about it. So
that's okay, because I don't play it all the time. I add it when it belongs. And again, I just picked up the slide guitar because I felt like the band needed it.
Yeah.
There were certain things where you can only get that vocal quality out of the guitar from slide, and nobody played it. And so it was easier for me to learn slide than it would have been for me to learn, regular guitar, because it's more like an unfretted instrument the way you play it. So you're playing completely by ear.
That's true. Yeah. I don't do that too much, but when I'm looking for that particular quality, you can't beat it. It's its own dimension,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's see. I got lost along the way talking here. So what did I say? Cass Clayton Band had put out this thing called Play Nice. That's right, computer. You agree with me. And you want to get the deluxe edition because it has lots of more goodies in it. It's basically the same album, but lots more thrown in, and cooler versions. You pick the one you like the best. I'm saying, and they're all these songs are great. So I hope I stress that enough. But it's hard to spotlight just one of them. So I'll put in the ones that are getting some attention. B-side, Dawes County. Flowers at My Feet. That was a cool one.
That's got a lot of attention. That song played a lot because it's such a rocker.
Yeah, that's the one. And you're talking about organ solo. There's a good one in that one too, right?
Yeah. And the shredding guitar on that. That's just
yeah. Okay, well, let's see. We're having too much fun, Cass. So I think we should calm it down. Otherwise, this thing's going to go on for another. People. I had a guest once that we talked for over 2 hours, and she goes, "Nobody's going to want to listen to this." Trust me. Even if we just clipped out, it's hard to clip out, just the choice parts, and
totally, you can always clip out parts, and it was nice to have a great conversation with somebody. It was a lot about.
Well, fast forward through some of it if that's what so that's what I'm saying.
That's the advantage. You can fast forward through all of it.
So let me try to word to you. I always ask at the very end. There's a traditional question that's and much I can never word it the same way twice. But it's basically if other songwriters have listened to you talk about your story and talk about your craft and your love of music and all the other stuff, and they're inspired by you, so they will relate to you. And I was wondering if you can impart some wisdom by saying there might be some days other songwriters they're just not. Believe it or not, there can be days and weeks that'll go by where you're just not inspired. You may. It's not writer's block, but you're going like, I'm just not, and it may get you down. Sometimes you might be moody, and it'll get to you. Is there anything that you found that might be a good piece of advice for somebody that to know that there's always an upside? You look at it long term. Anything you might be able to put in your own words to give them hope that there's good things to come?
That is a fantastic question, because I've landed in that spot, as we all have, writing so many times. And I think the blank page is a terror. That's just such a scary thing.
It is scary. Yeah.
It's terrifying. And for me, I think what sometimes helps is knowing that songwriting is not easy. It was never meant to be easy. Once in a while you get an easy song. Just like if you had 5 babies, maybe one of them is born breech and one of them is born, one of them's easy and you barely make it to the hospital. That's how songs are.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like sometimes what helps me to get out of a rut is just writing. Just start. and write no matter what. I mean, also, I feel like false deadlines, for me, having my feet to the fire is really important. I have never written anything at leisure. Now, some people might be able to do that, but if it was just left to me without a deadline to get a song done, a song would probably never happen. So like create a false deadline for yourself, meet another songwriter, whatever it takes, at a coffee shop, and know that you both have to bring something. And take the pressure off that it doesn't have to be good. Because some of the best songs are not that heady. I mean, it doesn't have to be this brilliant, important, precious piece to be something that you needed to write.
Yeah.
It's so important to be willing to write something just to write it. It may not ever hit the studio. We're really hard on ourselves. Like, anybody who's a writer is introspective, probably. Otherwise, you wouldn't write. So it's just, I think, being less heady about it and being gentle with yourself, and at the same time, giving yourself an absolute date by which you need to meet this person who's expecting you to have something is incredibly helpful to me. I wish I could say that I would just like write a bunch of albums just for myself, but I wouldn't. I just need a team I need one person who I owe it to.
That's a great thing I've never actually considered that. Yeah. You're almost holding your own feet to the fire.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
One side of you can challenge the other side, so to speak.
Yeah.
And to not be heady. Yeah. Look at everybody Wang Chung tonight. That's not a heady song. And yet that made a lot of
By the way, that was a really good question.
Yeah.
Because I, like you were saying, I go to other artists all the time to get inspired, just listening to their music.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. See if I can, just as a side note, you were talking about the blank page. I'll name drop a little bit. There was do you remember a couple of years ago, there was a movie, Mary Poppins Saving Mr. Banks, where where it was supposed to be Walt Disney going to, anyway, in there were scenes where they're trying to, the two brothers on the piano trying to create the songs. Well, I interviewed the living one. I interviewed one of those guys, the Disney guy who they did the Mary Poppins music, Winnie the Pooh, the Jungle Book, Sword in the Stone, all those, so all those songs this guy was responsible for. And he's told me right in the beginning of the show, he goes, yeah, I'm scared I still look at a blank page and panic. And I said, because the way I always understood it, these guys were just like, they cranked them out all the time.
That's what it sounds like. I mean, those guys.
And apparently they did, but he apparently is not as,
that makes me feel so much better, because
that's what I say. Yeah. It makes you feel like, oh, I can do it too. If somebody at that level still looks at it and says like, I wonder how I'm going to do it, but somehow it, you work through that initial panic and then you start it. So it's just getting started, I think.
No, I think thank you for telling me that, because it really is. It's just writing anything initially. It is, sometimes the process is, what's the journey is the destination. That's the,
yeah. Right. That's the true joys in the journey. Right. And yeah, because who knows if you get to that destination, and once you get there, what's on the other side, Yeah.
Right.
Oh, great. Yeah. Well, Cass, I'm only going to wrap this up because I'm just you have no idea how long I've been sitting. I'm getting leg cramp. Oh, that's not your fault. I really have enjoyed this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking like we have been. And I know everybody's going to enjoy that last little piece of that little nugget. You saying that you had to think about the answer, but it was a great answer. So I think everybody's going to enjoy that. Thanks.
I really, when it comes to giving advice, I feel like I'm not really qualified to give advice because, I haven't been doing it that long. And yet, we all have some we're doing it. So, there's something that we all have in common.
Yeah.
That we're writing, and we all know as writers that, the other thing is, we all know as writers, you're going to be rewriting. So it doesn't really matter what that first draft is. It's not going to end up that way.
Good point. That's true in many cases. But you're, well taken what you were saying about, experience. Maybe you don't have 20, 30 years experience behind you, but at the same time, I think your appetite and your love for the music and just that wide-eyed optimism of what can be around the corner with your career, that's enough to inspire and get people. I can learn from that too.
Yeah, people can just, if you wanted to write a song, you can just sit down and write a song. I mean, people often ask how I ended up doing that, but really, you just sit down and you write a bunch of bad songs until you get to the good ones.
Yeah,
it is a craft, and so. One of my daughter's friends wants to write a song, and I'm like, absolutely, let's write a song together, because I think it's important to do it a bunch of times and let yourself just churn out some things that are not very good. Your first, maybe some people, their first writing attempts are exactly what they wanted to write, and it comes out rhythmically the way but most of us have to write a lot. And I have a picture that I posted on Instagram from the summer. It was actually the spring. I checked myself into a hotel so that I wouldn't have any distractions, just to write. And I had a picture of about 100 pieces of paper wadded up on the ground. And that's what it is. It's like, nope, not quite that, but this, not quite that, but this. And it is, it's not a pretty, tidy process. It's like, a chef doesn't leave the kitchen clean.
True. Yeah. Painter painting a painting like you have right there. You didn't get to see what the room looked like after it was done, So
exactly.
All that stuff on the floor, and it got all over your clothes, and it's it's messy, but what you can create in the long term, it looks great. And then it's like the painting, it's forever. You did it, and now it'll last for as long as you want to look at it.
Yeah, it's there for everyone, and it's I always feel like every time I put a song out there, I ask that it bless people with whatever they need to feel and whatever they need to in their lives, that it speaks to each person in the way that they need to be spoken to. So I hope each song has a little blessing or gift for people, because the real reason to do this is to give of your heart. And so some of the songs, even if it's a song that has an angry edge or something, it still can have this little thing under it. Yes, I know you felt this too. And maybe this will help you to release that emotion. Because one of the things that I think our culture is really, really poor at is processing emotion. We don't like to show our vulnerable sides. And music is the way that we have agreed it's okay to feel. So there are some things that I can only feel through music. I'm just not going to go to that spot of pain except through a song.
Yeah, it's the way to do it. It's a good excuse for it, and
for it. But I don't want to keep you up all night. But I really had
No, that's fine. I was going to say the same thing. I don't want to. I really don't want to stop. But then at some point, I'm going to run out of gas, and then it's going to be very ugly for you, because you'll see me crash and burn here. But it's the kind of thing I love to do, is just chat, and if we're on a roll, let's just keep going with it. But I do appreciate the time we spent. So it'll be like one of those.
Me too.
Back in the days when you're watching TV, it's a very special 2-hour episode of the Cass Clayton interview.
Yeah, and like you said, people tune into the little gem that they want to hear, and
I'll figure it out. Sometimes it's like your songs. Which one do you pick as your favorite? I enjoy all the different little things we talked about today. So I think everybody else will get that same thing. And most of my stuff is pick and choose, but
and I'll share your show with people. So
thank you.
Yeah, because I don't think, people need to know about it. I mean, half of my friends are songwriters now. And so we're always, especially now, we've got time, and the community is a little bit, mentally, for sure.
They're antsy, and they're not sure what exactly to do with their new venues. They're experimenting with things, but they probably just really want to get back to what they were doing in the first place.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm involved in.
That's why you did it, right? You wanted to get on stage and have that community, that bonding with the audience, and
yes. And whenever anybody, regardless of what they do for a living, whenever anybody loses a sense of purpose, it creates a certain kind of instability.
Yeah.
Because, what we do is like very much a part of who we think we are. Whether that really is true or not, it's who we think we are. So when you lose the ability to do what's associated with your entire identity, I think we're seeing a lot of mental health issues in the music community.
That's true. Yeah, I am hearing a lot about it. Yeah.
More drinking, more, In fact, I'll let you go after this, but I am working with a big jazz club in Denver called Dazzle to create a professional music jam that'll start in January so that pro musicians can get together and jam. It's going to be called Bread and Jam.
Okay.
And we'll have a big meal for everybody. Musicians get to come for free and just jam out some music together and talk about the things that are our minds and the worries because people need that kind of soul food right now. I love this. An excuse for you and I to talk again when this happens. Let me know an update on what that happens to be like. I absolutely will. A very good name for it, Bread and Jam. I like that. Yeah. You probably thought it was cute yourself, and it sounds like a great thing. Boy, you and your husband both doing some great stuff there. So it's really. It's an unexpected pleasure. I knew I was going to have a good time talking with you, but I didn't know I was going to learn so much great stuff about you and what you guys do. Yeah. You're a fascinating person. I love that you're doing what you love and helping a bunch of writers in the process, because, we're solitary kind of creatures in a certain way, because writing is a solitary, lonely thing sometimes. So it's good to have. I'm working on it. It's like I produce everything myself, so it's like if I don't know how it would change if I try to delegate and try to get some people to get behind the scenes. Hey, can you edit my stuff so I can go on to the next one? And because I'm doing everything all by myself. Everything you see or hear is all me. So it's going to be. Yes, it would be almost hard to get somebody to how could they edit it for you? That would be hard. I know, it's a little tough. It's like giving up control of your the songs. You're saying having somebody play it wrong. You don't want to do that. Yeah. I absolutely get it. Well, it's been a lot of fun. CassClayton.com, that's her website. Everybody go check out Play Nice, which has already been out, but there's going to be more. She's going to have a deluxe edition of Play Nice, and you're going to want to check that out. So, and she's on the Facebooks and everything else, and like you're supposed to be. I'll have to go find your Facebook thing and go like your page or whatever you have, if you have that. Yes, I'll like yours as well. Thank you. Already. I may not have, because I don't think I have the link, but I will look you up and we'll keep in touch. Yeah. Well, you have my, I've sent you emails, so. And I've got it all. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So Cass, it's been wonderful. Let's keep in touch that way, and I'll let you know. Might take a while to get this the longer it gets, the more I have to go what song am I going to let them hear? Dawes County sounds great, and I'll do what I can to give you the best. But it's been the talk that's been the great thing about this whole thing. So it really has. I really enjoyed it. All right, all my best to your home life, your husband and your daughter. May good things always be blessed on you, and we appreciate you coming on and sharing everything and being candid. You're perfect for this show. Thank you. I loved it, and I'll look forward to talking with you again. Okay. I'm clapping here. This is great. Standing ovation. If I could stand up, my leg is falling asleep. Okay, Cass, you take care, and we'll be talking to you another time. Have a great day today. A great night. Thanks, Dean. We'll see you soon. Okay. Bye-bye.